Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am the man, MrWarrenHayes, and I am with you this evening, back live tonight, from an undisclosed location somewhere out there. But the important part is that we're here tonight on August 13, 2020 to talk about professional wrestling right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes because the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is recorded live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. Well, I mean, this time it's daylight savings. Look, 9 p.m. Eastern. Let's keep it simple, Warren. Just for once in your lifetime. Couldn't you keep something simple, Warren? 9 p.m. Eastern. Every Thursday evening, right here, youtube.com, and I record live because there's a bunch of people then who come in and spend a part of their Thursday evening listening to me talk about wrestling, enjoying the great sport of kings that is professional wrestling, such as Tim Traver, who's with us this evening. How you doing, Tim? It's good to see you. Robert Sterling is here as well. Robert Larry as well. We have the Battle of the Roberts tonight. Tim Gories has joined us as well. Our pal Throwback is in the chat as well. Good to see you there, Pat. Who else we got? We're running down the list here. We have Kelly Toines, who has joined us tonight. Ben is in the chat as well. Good to see you, Ben. Nick Wolf as well. Let's see who else. We got Carlos, who's joined us. Singer Vampire Thomas, who is here as well. Good to see you. Daniel Price, DGMC as well. Good to see you. G.S. Brown is here in the chat as well. Jonathan Reyes, Max Forbes, Kristen Ashley is here. She's the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, and yet here she is in the chat with us here this evening. Nikki is here as well. Good to see you, Nikki. Hello. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. Now, Aaron Entertainment just dropped into the room as well. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules, your very busy Thursdays. You know, a lot of people like to think that just because it's pandemic that we don't have anything to do. This is untrue, completely untrue. And I really do appreciate you guys coming out here this evening to join me in talking about professional wrestling. And that's fantastic. So if you're listening right now on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, consider giving the video a thumbs up. That kind of stuff always helps. You can also wait till the very end just to give it a proper assessment. Is this a full thumbs up video? Hey, I'm okay with that. That's your democratic right. And actually, you know, being very objective as to how things work like that. Hey, that just makes sense to me. So you can do that. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel as well, hey, please consider doing it. That's also really cool. If you haven't subscribed yet, you've been watching for a few times, hey, maybe tonight is the night I get to earn your subscription, and that would be fantastic. I like to think that you give me your subscriptions not out of pity, but because I've worked for it, because there is a big part of that. So I appreciate it if you do subscribe to the channel as well. That's very cool. And if you're listening to on a podcast app, thank you very much. That's also very, very appreciated. Do consider giving us some love there with a review, a like, a subscription, whatever you can do over there as well. Very much appreciate the audio listeners. Thank you for listening at your own leisure. Last week, didn't do the show live, so there wasn't a post show over on patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes, but we're going to be back tonight. With Warren is off the clock, we're going to be talking about more stuff. I'm going to be talking about Kushida. I'm going to be talking about Cody Rhodes on the post show tonight. So if you want to join in, head on over to patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. Consider supporting the show that way. And then every Thursday night, you can pop in on the post show where we just sit around and chat, and it's very, very cool. You guys are cool. You like cool things. I like cool things as well. So please consider doing that. You can also support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show by becoming a member of the YouTube channel here at youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. You go to the channel page, you hit the join button. It's really, really cool if you want to subscribe or if you want to join as a member here on YouTube if you come live, because then you get access to a bunch of extra emojis that you can use here in the live chat. So that's really cool as well. So that's another good way to support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Hey, by the way, there's a Discord for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show now. That's right. I launched it this week. We've already got a bunch of people who have joined us there. Regulars from the chat, regulars from outside the chat, Twitter and Facebook and all sorts of places, and pals of mine as well who joined there. Yeah. The description, or actually the link to the Discord is in the description. So if you use Discord, you're into some really cool wrestling talk. We even have some live watch chats happening. We did it for AEW Dark earlier this week. We did it for AEW and NXT last night. Consider checking that out at the Discord, the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord. As I said, link is in the description. And one very last thing, this Saturday morning, over on Throwback's channel, youtube.com/throwback27, I will be joining him for a very special edition of Match Memories. I've sat down, we've already recorded this is already in the can, as they say in the business. It's Throwback and I basically sat down to talk about a match, or at least a couple of matches, two matches, which we remember fondly, part of a feud. We're talking about AJ Styles and John Cena, their matches that they had, and we do that together, talking about the memories, the matches themselves. It's really good stuff. Saturday morning, go subscribe to Throwback's channel if you haven't already. Throwback is at youtube.com/throwback27, and it's going to air on Saturday. So that'll be really exciting. So there you go. You know what else is really exciting? The weekly wrestling inspection. You know what I forgot to mention as well? Another way that you can support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, especially if you're watching live here tonight, is via Super Chat right here on YouTube. And if you leave a Super Chat, I will read your question or comment live on the air, recorded for posterity into the annals of history. And I'm going to start with one by Nick Wolf, who left a Super Chat. Thank you very much, Nick. Says August 9th, 2020 is officially Yoshihashi Day. Well, we might as well talk about it right now because it was part of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Well, that's a really good lead-in. It's a really good lead-in. Let's talk about it straight off the bat. We're going to talk about it's cool beans. All in all, it's cool beans. We're going to talk about the Never six-man tournament that happened in New Japan. It came to completion, came to fruition over the past couple of weeks, I guess. But it all came to an end on August 9th, a couple of days ago, where we did have Yoshihashi as part of his trio comprised of Goto and Tomohiro Ishii defeating Kazuchika Okada, Toru Yano, and I'm drawing a blank. Who was the third member of the trio? It was Kazuchika, Yano, and I can't remember. But the thing here, Yoshihashi won his first title in his 12 years of wrestling. You guys know I like to rag on him a lot. I really like to sink my teeth into Yoshihashi nonsense. But it was Sho. Thank you, Nick Wolf. Sho was the third guy. Good for him. Like, congratulations to Yoshihashi. Ooh, yeah. It has been a long time coming. He's a stalwart of New Japan. Good for him, right? I mean, it's such good stuff. Congratulations. And in a month we'll have forgotten about the six-man tag title, so it'll be just as if nothing happened. But it was really a nice moment. It really, really was a nice moment for Yoshihashi. He was really happy, and it really was his moment. The whole story of the titles were built around the idea of him coming. Were really around him possibly getting his first title, and at the end was Kazuchika Okada himself, the leader of Chaos. They're all in the same faction, who came over and actually strap the belt around YH Yoshi-Hashi, and in a very nice moment. Honestly, it was very well done and good for him. And like Nick Wolf left in another super chat. Thank you very much, Nick. Says this better be all Never 6-Man tourney review. Well, actually, this is it. This is all I'm going to say about it. Because frankly, I don't care about the 6-Man Never titles. I barely care about the New Japan Tag titles. So that's pretty much the biggest news that came out of it, and it's very good news. I'm really happy. I'm really happy that we went that way. That it went that way. Evan Wright left us a super chat at the same time. Thank you very much. Evan says Shingo versus Suzuki hose me down. This is the other big part of news. The other thing, the nugget of news, like Evan just said, that came out of the tournament. That eventually, actually at Summer Struggle. Yeah, is it Summer Struggle? The big show that they're going to be doing in a couple of weeks at Jingu Baseball Stadium. We're inching ever so closer to Shingo Takagi versus Minoru Suzuki for the Never Openweight Championship. And by God, I'm telling you folks, the Never title, since Shingo's run as Never champion, has been the glue of New Japan. The most interesting matchups so far, and some great matches to boot. I mean, it's really, I love it. I've been loving everything that Shingo's been doing, and him and Suzuki. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It is going to be a brutal, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's some cool beans anyway for the 6-man tag stuff and everything. Yeah. Let's keep the cool beans going. We're going to talk a little more New Japan because we had the start of the New Japan Cup, the New Japan Cup USA tournament that started last Friday on the newly minted New Japan Strong show that airs every Friday evening, 10 p.m. on New Japan World. Had some great matches. Carl Fredericks versus Kenta was really good. Kenta won that round. We had Jeff Cobb versus Tonga Loa, which was fine. Jeff Cobb went forward on his way. David Finlay defeated Chase Owens, and Brody King was defeated by Tama Tonga in a very, very hard-hitting match. I really dug it. My two favorite matches of the tournament so far have been Kenta and Fredericks, which I thought was real good, and Tama Tonga and Brody King. As it stands right now, my bracket predictions are dead on. I officially love the New Japan Cup US more than the standard New Japan Cup because my brackets are all coming true right out the gate. So this Friday, we're having Kenta versus Jeff Cobb. Oh boy. And David Finlay versus Tama Tonga. And if things go my way, I think Kenta should be winning and David Finlay should be winning to get Kenta and Finlay in the finals, with Kenta winning. John Moxley versus Kenta. Tell me you don't want that, and I'll call you a liar. Or someone who doesn't know much about New Japan. It's either or, right? So, I like the format of New Japan Strong. Just an hour of wrestling, and just wrestling, right? Aside from the magic scrubber gimmick that the Young Lions do in the meantime. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. But otherwise, it's a 1 hour of wrestling top to bottom. They were able to get 4 good matches in there, and not like 1 5-minute match, 1 3-minute match, and then 2 20-minute match. No, like 4 really good, well-paced matches, top to bottom, no frills. So digestible. It was fantastic. Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was a really, really good show. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited to see what happens next. I'm into it. Seeing John Moxley on Strong, I'm okay with that. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you, Evan. Says, Kenta and Tama Tonga starts the Civil War confirmed. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really think man, maybe. But then again, like, there's going to be an official Bullet Club USA, and I don't know, but I really think that the Civil War should start with Jay White and Evil. That's how it's got to go. It has to go like that. I'm really excited to see how it all turns out, but it seems to me that should be the road we should be taking. Let's go down a few super chats here. Sing Your Vampire Tom says, shout out to Warren and everyone on the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord server. That's right. Join today. Link is in the description. Go join up. Evan Wright left another super chat. Says, OMG, it's Mr. Warren Hayes. Hi. Hello. Thank you for the super chat, Evan. Mr. Fretz also left a super chat. Thank you very much, Mr. Fretz. Sup, Warren? Thanks for sharing my podcast. Cheers. Definitely go check out Mr. Fretz's stuff. He has his own podcast. And I'm glad that you do let me know when you drop new podcasts, Fretz, because I get overwhelmed with so many notifications. So thank you for letting me know. My pleasure to share it out. So there we go. So we talked about New Japan. That's always a good way to start. Babaruski's in the chat. How you doing, Babaruski? It's good to see you. All right, what else? Okay, so we're gonna start talking about WWE now. We're gonna pull out some hot trash. Jay Kearns, how you doing? Good to see you. Jay Kearns has nothing to do with the hot trash. That was just a coincidence. I just saw. Is WWE turning Sheamus face? Is that what they're doing? Are they turning him? Baron Corbin costs Sheamus a match, right, this week, or last Friday. He costs him a win against Matt Riddle by sending in Chad Gable. By the way, Chad Gable, if they're turning Chad Gable, or Shorty G, if they're going to make a heel out of him, they have to change his name back to Chad Gable. There's no heel in the world whose name is Shorty G. That just won't work. At least give him the dignity of having his name back. Anyway, we're not talking about Chad Gable. That was just an aside. So Gable costs Sheamus the match, but then Sheamus costs Corbin a match by attacking Jeff Hardy and knocking Jeff out, forcing the disqualification. By the way, actually Riddle interferes to allow Sheamus to win later on in their match. When Corbin and Sheamus have their match, Riddle interferes and he sort of applauds Sheamus at the end when he wins. And by the way, Hardy was knocked out, right? Boy, oh boy, I'm going to tell you, that feud, that alcoholism angle, sure, with Sheamus, man, that sure did him wonders. Good job keeping him red hot, right? Nice and steaming hot after that hot feud. So hot, had to be cooled down a little bit this week. Anyway, I don't understand. After weeks of us seeing Sheamus being legitimately the worst person on earth, trying to push an alcoholic, someone who has substance abuse problems, after weeks of watching him trying to push that person over the edge and relapse, are we going to believe, like, within a 2-week time, that suddenly he's a baby? Ah, my God. I mean, seriously. If we're being frank with each other here, it doesn't make sense to me that they're already and it may not be that either. But it really does look that way. We'll see what happens, I guess. In the meantime, we're going to talk some warm soda about Alexa and the Fiend and the Braun Strowman thing. And I'm going to tell you why I'm warm on it. Because like anything WWE does, it has the potential to be good, right? It has the potential to be interesting. The visuals that they got on SmackDown on Friday, were with The Fiend clearly wanting to mandible claw Alexa again, but Alexa sort of reaching up to caress his face. Let's call it Stockholm Syndrome. If they push this act together, there's something really interesting and fun that could be done to rejuvenate both acts, really. For Alexa on one hand, and for The Fiend to sort of give him a little more gas. I kind of like it. But then they had the whole Braun Strowman thing where he was talking into a fisheye lens. And fisheye lenses, by the way, the most evil of all the lenses. We're not lying here. You guys know that's the truth. Or he's talking about he's the stuff of nightmares, and but no, it's The Fiend. I was built in. The whole Braun thing is very, very tacked on and stupid. And this, I still don't see what the Universal title has anything to do with this. There's nothing here that has to do with the Universal title. And I'm okay with this being a storyline that's personal for Braun Strowman, and Alexa's now involved. And wasn't Braun Strowman saying, I don't care about Alexa? I'm like, what are we watching? What's going on? So, like, I feel like out of the gate, they've blown it. But whatever they're building with Bray and Alexa has the potential to be something. It has the potential for something. It has the potential for something interesting. We'll see where it goes. I'm very, very warm soda-y about it right now. So I have it between my hands.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see. We'll just see what happens. Evan Wright left another super chat. Thank you, Evan. Says, how does WWE contact Fiend for advertised showings? My theory is that they had him that one time, and then they took all the pictures they could while he was not rampaging, and then they've been just reusing the same footage over and over again. That's my theory. Probably have a better one. Do I see Blaine in the chat? I do see Blaine Mendoza, the world's most handsome mod, in the chat. Good to see you, Blaine. All right, let's get ourselves some cool beans here for the Miz and Morrison segment. And hear me out, not because of the puppet, because that was lame. And this is the kind of stuff where I don't even understand. I don't know who this appeals to. I don't understand who the crowd is for this. Is it because it's a little too mature, but not like super mature, not like rated R, but too mature for kids, but too stupid for adults. Anyway, the Mandy's hair puppet thing is what I'm talking about. That stunk. I don't think it was good. God bless Sonya Deville, who came out to save this segment. And that's why it's cool beans, because Sonya is so special. And the pull-apart brawl that she had with Mandy was absolutely fantastic. It was so good. And that's what you want from your wrestlers, right? You just want wrestlers to fight. You just want them to beat each other up for wrestling reasons. You don't need an extended storyline. You don't need something. Of course, I would have preferred that Sonya move away from Mandy once they completed that feud. What was it before Money in the Bank? I would have preferred that they don't touch that ever again, but they decided to come back to it. Hey, you know what? If we're going to get some good pull-apart brawls like this, and it's going to feel visceral and real, I like it. By the way, there were no women's matches on SmackDown on Friday. That stinks. Because you know how I feel about the women's division on SmackDown. and certain talent that aren't necessary. I mean, I'm glad they did something with Sonya, but she could have had a match. And are they going to keep Naomi off of TV because she and because of a messed up spot from 2 weeks ago? Is that what they're going to do? They're going to keep them off television because of a messed up spot, as if most wrestlers most wrestlers botch spots once in a while. It's stupid. Anyway, there was room for a women's match on this show. It was dumb that they didn't add it on. Anyway, moving on, more cool beans. We're going to talk about Asuka versus Bayley from Raw. God damn, that was a good match. Wasn't that that was a treat. And that was fun. And I said it once and I'll say it again. This is what happens when you put two talented women in the ring at the same time and you say, hey, you know what? The match has stakes. Make it feel important. Give us a big match. The pace was fantastic and built gloriously till the very end. The submissions, right? The whole sequence with the submissions, rolling in and out, and Bayley who was targeting Asuka's legs, and we don't get to see Bayley's ground game all that much. This was super refreshing. It was on that end. Plus, everything made sense. Clean finish. It doesn't take much to make me happy. You make smart booking, talented people, good endings. And honestly, I don't care how much Bruce Pritchard likes to tell us that they do 7 hours of live TV per week and it's so demanding and hard. With the resources and the amount of people working in that company and the writers and everything, it should not be that hard to book compelling matches. It shouldn't. It shouldn't be. We should not be sitting around going, yeah, my goodness, they have it. If there were 5 people working the entire show in the backstage, maybe. But they've got hundreds of people. Stupid. Daniel Marshall left us a super chat. Thank you, Daniel. Says, wanted to leave my 2 cents. Have a good stream. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much for dropping in, and thank you for the super chat. That is very appreciated. Oh boy. You ready for some hot trash, folks? We're going to talk about Retribution, or as I like to call them, Retri-blah-tion, or I also like to say like they're an Antifa knockoff, fake Tifa, or bland Tifa, all sorts of ways you can name this. And I think it's fair to do some Antifa comparisons. Because if you think that WWE isn't taking the fears of white middle America at a time of social upheaval to push wrestling angles, you're new here. You're new to the business. And welcome. I hope you enjoy your time. So I'm about to learn you about WWE. Here's the thing. The political line that you can draw here is very, very obvious. Don't let anyone fool you. Don't anyone say, oh no, it's just people in... They're using imagery that we've seen in Portland and in Minnesota, that we've seen everywhere where there's been violent protests. Started with the Molotov cocktails 2 weeks ago, and look, now they're flipping cars. Here's the thing: these people, Retribution, they're going to be heels, folks.
Yeah.
They're going to end up being heels. Whereas the people who are out protesting are doing it for social justice. There's something that I don't want to get political, but if you go out and you protest, it is because you are requesting something from your government and your government's not listening, so you take to the streets. That's usually how it goes. And usually it's for good reasons. But these people here, Retribution, they're going to be heels. Just like anti-consumerism Daniel Bryan when he was Captain Planet. He was a heel, despite the fact that everything he was saying was true about people's buying habits and not recycling and eating too much junk food and not taking care of the planet. This was all true. But so it just makes the whole thing really cringe when you think about what the end game here is going to be. But on top of it all, on top of this, at least Daniel Bryan was good at what he did. This is lame. It is lame. On Friday, they attacked. They started running around. It looked like they were messing around, right? The wobbly chainsaw. They tipped the SmackDown commentary table over. By God! Roman Reigns has done that too. Maybe he's in Retribution. They use spray paint. Spray paint is the ultimate sign of authority, right? So they spray paint. They use gray spray paint on the plexiglass, and you could barely see it because you don't use gray spray paint. What the hell, And then Monday they're messing with the lights, and then they threw a cinder block through the front door of the Performance Center. My God! And then they threw another cinder block through the same door of the Performance Center, but the window had already shattered. And they just stood around going like this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like a bunch of teenagers who just like, who just like tipped over a teeter-totter at the playground. And of course, then later they flipped a car. Folks, if you don't think that the protest imagery isn't tied here, you're wrong. They flipped the car and they're like on it and going, ooh, ooh, ooh. And of course, Vince is like, this is all great, pal. You got all these weirdos out in the street and now we have them here. This is great. This is exactly it. I hate this because it's lame. And they better have some awesome surprises under those masks. Because if they're going to drag this out till SummerSlam, they cannot not have a kick-ass endgame to this. I'm fully expecting another week of shenanigans when they should really reveal before going into summer, because this is dull. This is not exciting at this point. It's not fun. Why didn't they just debut like the Nexus did? Just a bunch of malcontents. They come in and that's it. They're going to be heels. And here's another thing. Here's another theory that I've heard. Because at first I was like, oh, what if they bring back the superstars, the wrestlers that they fired back in April during the pandemic, right? When everything was, when the shit was hitting the fan. What if they did that? And I was like, at first I was like, cool. But then I was like, no, wait. WWE here is using a real life angle where they were real life awful to people to bring people back in an angle where these people are going to come off as the heels. How does that even work? You'd think that the people who were fired would come back as heroes, but no, they're going to bring them back as heels because then the established locker room are all going to come after these malcontents, right? So you're going to have the good guys who are going to be defending WWE against these reprobates who, posted snarky tweets. Jesus Christ. It already boggles my mind, and we're not even at the tip of the angle yet, but it's already so weird to me, and I think it's a bad angle. I think it's bad for what it represents, and it's bad in execution. It's the worst of both worlds. I can't even say, oh, well, at least the camera shots are cool. No! Kevin Dunn sucks! Evan Wright left us a super chat. He doesn't suck. Says, I've rewatched the second block throw 30 times now. And I was watching it with Kristen. Shout out to Kristen. And we were watching it together, and she was like, wait, a cinder block, because the second one goes in and just sort of falls apart. It just sort of collapses. And Kristen was like, Cinder blocks don't break like that. They just don't come apart like that. I know it's bad. And Evan Wright left us another super chat. Thank you again, Evan. It says, them trying to get Raw and SmackDown off of my TV equals faces. Yeah. Well, yes. See, to me, you have a bunch of gals and guys who want to take down, dismantle WWE from the inside. They're my heroes. I'm good with that. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about more cool beans. So, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens had a pretty good match on Raw on Monday. But you know that's not what I'm going to talk about. The match is good. But Orton at the end cuts a promo with Ric Flair in the ring, right? And is it a legendary moment in WWE history? I would say so. It's going to be up there. It's going to be, WWE loves making moments more than storylines. It likes to make its moments. You got one here. Orton starts talking to Flair and he says that he has every right to be upset with Flair, but he just can't be angry at him because Ric Flair made this match last week, right? Kevin Owens ran into Ric Flair. Some words were exchanged. A challenge was made. Kevin Owens said, I'll fight Randy. And Rick is like, you got it. So Randy kind of ticked off at it. But he says he can't find it in his heart to be angry. He's got every right to be pissed because he should have never made the match. And Randy got thrown into this match only because of Rick's ego. He says, puts Flair over, says that he learned so much from Flair, and for the past 20 years he's had his back and taught him everything he knows. He was there when Orton got into a lot of trouble in 2003. Flair was the only guy who was there. He bailed him out. He respects and loves Ric Flair. But he loved and respected Ric Flair, but he doesn't love or respect him anymore. He's a liability, is what Randy Orton says. Ric Flair gets on the mic then, and he says that he agrees that he's no longer the Ric Flair that everyone knew 20 years ago. And yes, he does love the spotlight. He's a 71-year-old man, and he's having the time of his life. He says, even Hogan calls me and says, how's it like, brother? And I was like, sure. Mm-hmm. That was Rick just taking a jab here. And he just wants to be there for Orton and to be Charlotte's dad. Orton hugs him. And you could see the look that Ric Flair had, his expression when he was hugging Randy. He knew right then and there he was done. Randy low blows him and punts him in the darkness, punts him in the head. But in the darkness, Ric Flair can't bump, folks. I was okay with this. I was terrified. I'm glad they did that. They at least used Retribution messing around with the lights. At least it served a purpose here. That was good. This was amazing. This was such a good pro wrestling angle. It was believable because both guys were natural. There was very little scripted about this. Just two great talkers going from point A to point B in their story, clearly, with emotion, with nuance. I loved every single moment of it. I thought it was fantastic. I honestly don't. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to think about anything else than how good the angle was, and how when WWE is able to hit the notes, it hits the notes so hard. We've talked about this a few times, and I think we have proof again here. If WWE focused on the wrestling, telling wrestling stories, and not over scripting their very talented wrestlers, I honestly think they would be unstoppable. I really do. Imagine if this is what you got for 3 hours of Raw. Well, not just angles, you know what I'm talking about. And if you got this on a regular basis from not just the main event, but from the down in the mid card, the lower mid card. This is so good. Everything would be good. Everything would be better. They can actually really do this. Let's say hello to Jason PS3 and Injection 2K. Good to see you both. Anyway, I'm loving every moment of it, and it's doing the job for the SummerSlam match versus Drew McIntyre. I still think Drew should win, but I feel like it could go either way because either way makes sense. And I said it. This is exactly the match that Drew's championship needs, and they're building it as such. It's fantastic stuff, man. I love it. Let's keep the cool beans going, and we'll move on to AEW Dynamite. If we're moving from one angle with legends to another angle with legends, we're got to talk about Tag Team Appreciation Night. The Young Bucks and FTR are in the ring. They have the Rock and Roll Express back on AEW. Robert Gibson, Ricky Morton wearing a York Foundation t-shirt, which was cool. And Tully and Arn, the Brain Busters. Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. And, they're very clearly separated, on either side. Arn and Tully are on the same side of FTR, and Rock and Roll Express are on the same side of the Young Bucks. This was not an accident, folks. And they're putting themselves over, they're putting over their legacies and how good the champions are. But then Tully Blanchard stops grabs the microphone, and he stops the self-fellatio session going on. And FTR and the Bucks reminds FTR and the Bucks that only the champs can say they're the best. But there are no champions here. And he's like, you don't have a belt. You don't have a belt. You're just not the best. So he really throws a glass of cold water on the proceedings here. And he also takes exception to Arn getting involved in his business with his boy a year ago at All Out with Shawn Spears, which I think was a nice tie-in. I like that. It makes sense. Shows that Tully holds a grudge. I can dig it. I like it. There's a lot of good layers to this. And speak of the devil, Shawn Spears starts to creep into the audience. Arn has the microphone and he hits the brakes because he's like, if it looks like a trap and it smells like a trap, brother, it's a trap. So he just hits the bricks. Then Ricky Morton punches Tully. And then there's a bit of a schmoz. Dax Harwood goes down with his injured knee, the one that they were talking about earlier in the day, saying, he's out with an injury and all of that stuff. But anyway, the Bucks sort of take control of the situation, and they start moving up the stage towards pushing Tully and Spears back, and as they're doing that, their backs are turned to the ring, and FTR attack the Rock and Roll Express. Hell, Ricky Morton eats a spike pile driver. Ricky Morton at 60-some years old, and he's still bumping. I mean, I say that every time. It's no big news to me. Robert Gibson, when I was covering NWA just a few months ago, and they had him wrestling, Robert Gibson, and I pointed it out, he can't stand up on his own. He has to hold on to something to lift himself back up to an upright position. I don't want Robert Gibson taking bumps. Ricky Morton just doesn't give a shit, I don't think. But, he's in shape to do it. We've seen him over the past 12 months. We've seen him do Canadian Destroyers and Poison Ranas, so good for him. Anyway, so the Rock and Roll Express are attacked. Hangman Page comes in with Omega to sort of clear everything up, and Hangman has a glass of whiskey as well. This is good stuff. Great use of legends to get an angle over. I thought this was going to be very self-congratulatory, a lot of patting on the back. I thought it was great. If you're going to use legends, might as well use them to this in this fashion, because it was absolutely wonderful. Evan Wright left us a super chat again. Thank you, Evan. Says, good Lord, that stuffed pile driver cell. Chef's kiss, he says. Yeah, for sure. For sure. That was really, really good stuff. I loved it. It was really, really good. Oh, I want to say hello to, I would assume, Dan Reed of Eve Pro Wrestling, who was in the chat. Good to see you, Dan. Okay, we're going to keep the cool beans going just on a quick note here. Mike Chioda is in AEW right now. I know a lot of people were losing their minds last night. Don't know why. But it's not as if they signed, like, I don't know, Sting. But I'm really glad to see Mike Chioda in AEW. Mike was part of the group that got fired back in April because of the pandemic. But not only that, it's not just he was fired. He was rehabilitating an injury. He was out injured. So not only did they fire him during a pandemic, they fired him while he was injured. So that double shitty for you, WWE. I'm glad Chioda has a job with AEW. That made me happy. Good to see him, even though he did a 4 count on. But the guy's excited. He hasn't reffed in months. He counted 4 on Cody when Cody hit the final crossroads on Scorpio Sky. He counted to bless his heart. It was good stuff. Evan Wright again left us a super chat. Thank you, Evan. Says, Omega Page are the best tag team in the world, IMO. That means, in my opinion, for those of you who are maybe new to this, I don't know. They're fucking good. They're really good. It's hard to fathom that that with the depth of the tag team division that AEW has, that one of their top tag teams is 2 singles guys. But it just works. They work so well together. They haven't had a bad match. They just have not had a bad match together. And on top of that, not only have they never had a bad match, they have a great story. They have a great story, just like stretching out like that. Zoomer Warren, what the hell are you people talking about? When I say you people, I mean DGMC. More cool beans. The MJF segment. Only MJF could be pulling this off right now, because of how pompous and over the top it is. He's the reason. His personality. He's the reason why this is working. But it's wearing thin for me, and frankly, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need the election gimmick. He and Wardlow cutting scathing promos, being dicks would be sufficient. I feel like all the rest it's a little too much. And as much as I like the segment, because it is cool beans, I liked it because Mox ran in to mess it up. I think if we had gotten another presidential speech, or campaign speech, I should say, I don't think I would have felt so highly about it. But the segment really came together when Mox attacked him, and I love how Mox doesn't care about it. Mox doesn't give a shit about he doesn't give a shit about the gimmick, about the presidential stuff, the hashtags. He says, you want a shot at my title? Fine. You want to come and try to cost me a match last week? I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna kick your teeth in. And that's it. So even though the over the top stuff is is on thin ice for me. The juxtaposition here is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Oh, and MJF's sell of the paradigm shift was awesome. It was awesome. Great segment. I absolutely loved it. Let's move on to some hot trash now. So the entire amount of women's in-ring action last night on AEW Dynamite lasted 3 minutes and 11 seconds. It didn't even fill the entire quarter hour. Sort of like they've been doing over the past couple of weeks, where they stuff all the women's thing, everything that has to do with women into 1 quarter hour, and we'll never speak of women throughout the entire, throughout the rest of the show. Now it's just like 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Hikaru Shida, your AEW Women's Champion, comes out to get a squash. I can get that, but this segment should have been used for some type of plan for All Out. We're, 2 weeks out? 3 weeks out to before the... No, I'm sorry. It's in September. Pardon me. My apologies. I got confused. So we still got a few weeks. But you're going to trot your Women's Champion out. Have something important for her. That's one thing. But then on top of that, there weren't... nothing else with the women. Nothing else. No extra vignettes. No Britt Baker. Not building anyone. Hell, we had Private Party in a little vignette earlier in the evening, sitting around marking out at the Hardy Boys entrance. Where are these Abaddon vignettes that we've been told are coming? Why don't we see how Anna Jay interacts with the rest of the Dark Order? Why don't we see Big Swole and Little Swole training or doing something? Or hey, here's another wacky idea. Why not give another match for the women? You know what I'm saying? It's so weird. It's so weird. I'm not going to harp on it. I've harped on it enough. I even have a video if you want to check. It's on the playlist called Warren Likes to Rant, because I question mark at the end. And that you can go watch and get my full thoughts on how I feel about the AEW, how AEW is handling its women's division. Now, just a few hours before I got on air, we found out that B. Priestley and Sadie Gibbs are gone from AEW. Well, at least look, Sadie Gibbs confirmed on Twitter that she's out of there, and B. Priestley she's gone from the roster page on AllEliteWrestling.com.
Oh, yeah!
So we don't know exactly what the status is, but she's not on the roster anymore. Now, this is what, if AEW does really believe in its women's division, this is what you do, AEW. You pick up new women. Now, this is it. Because I'm tired of AEW feeding excuses to the blind defenders of the promotion, saying, yeah, times are hard because Sadie Gibbs and B. Priestley left. So, of course, the women's division's strapped. Don't give them any more excuses. Go get the talented women that are still out there. Make it happen. You have Nicole Savoy at your fingertips. And she was so good on Monday. I don't know why you wouldn't add her. There's so many women out there. Talented. Holodead is still out there. Just hire them. Hire women. I'm sick of the excuses. There's got to be more to this. Cyclops is better than Wolverine. Still a very controversial username. Left a super chat. Thank you very much for your super chat. It says the best booked money pushed woman. Oh no, okay, it's a slash. Sorry. I'll start over. I'll read it properly. It's a super chat. I'll read it properly. The best booked / pushed woman is in a wheelchair. Correct. Her character work has been phenomenal. So why are you just laser focused on her? And at this point, I'm going to tell you, I don't mind if we go into all out and it's still and we get Nyla Rose versus Shida again, because their match at Double or Nothing ruled. I'd be okay with the rematch. But I just want something to. And Penelope Ford is one of the most improved wrestlers of 2020. She had a good match on Dark again, and she has a fairly well-established character. We get it. It's just I don't know why they're not leaning more into the creatively into the women. I don't know. But I promised myself I wouldn't get on this rant tonight. And we're going to finish off with some more cool beans. Oh, no, not finish. Well, yeah, okay. Well, try to wrap it up. Omega Page versus Jurassic Express was really, really good. That was fantastic. Jurassic Express had this great sequence at some point that actually made me think, oh, shit, they're going to win. You know, Luchasaurus hits a double suplex. Jungle Boy hits a frog splash onto Hangman. There's a suicide dive onto Omega. And then a springboard rolling DDT onto Page. I thought they had it there. But the V-trigger buckshot combo gets the win. I love this match tons because it makes Jurassic Express look cohesive. Made them look smart together. And I also loved, on top of it, the Marco Stunt Kenny Omega callback from a couple of weeks ago when Omega and Stunt went at it. They leaned into it some more. Stunt on the apron was getting into Kenny's face, you know. Kenny just slapped him when he wasn't looking. And Stunt was laughing at Kenny Omega, was making fun of him for being thrown out of the ring. So Kenny snapdragons him right on the floor. Can you imagine if they slowly build to Kenny Omega versus Marco Stunt and it main events a Dynamite? The internet would have a meltdown. I would love that so much. It'd be a hell of a good time. And like someone already pointed out, it's not the first time Kenny Omega fought a child, so. And we're going to wrap this up. Just some quick thoughts on Orange Cassidy. Look, the guy's a top guy. He's a top guy now. I thought his match with Jericho was a little sloppy. I'm not sure I like the ending because wasn't there not supposed to be any interference during the match? And then we had all the people coming out. Anyway, Cassidy is going over. Cassidy going over here against Jericho is a big deal because Chris Jericho wouldn't be working with him and wouldn't be doing this type of program with him if he didn't believe that there was something really, really crucial that we could go get here. And I like Cassidy's change of pace, his change of attitude when he gets into these big match situations where he becomes more aggressive and doesn't rely on his shtick as much. And he understands how big a match this is, so he turns it up without completely abandoning his character either. It just makes perfect sense. And I see it on Twitter. The fact that he's getting more aggressive in these types of matches, it's getting him over with his detractors, which is really good. I hope they get a rubber match. I hope at All Out we get the final of a trilogy. I really do. I think there's one more match to get out of this with a really good stipulation. But you know, and AEW said multiple times building up, we're going to listen to the audience. We're going to listen to what you guys want. If something doesn't work, we're going to change. We're going to flip. And if it works, we're going to make sure that it works for everyone. Orange Cassidy got over naturally, got some of the biggest reactions when there were crowds. Remember those? Got some of the biggest reactions ever see. And he's fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic. The fact that they've pivoted into pushing this guy forward and making something out of him because the audience likes him, that's to their credit. That's to their credit. Because, you know, other companies would have been like, hey, we can't push you, buddy. Tone it down a bit. But that was really good. That was really good. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Oh, this should have been Cool Beans. I'm sorry, that wasn't Hot Trash. That was Cool Beans. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Says, give me Omega versus Jungle Boy. Omega is a heel worker. Yeah, they're sort of scraping at that Omega heel turn, right? So, there we go. It's fantastic stuff. So, that's it, folks. That's it. Anyway, for the weekly wrestling inspection. Remember, folks, super chats are still there. If you want to drop one, I will read your question, comment, statement, mood online. So that's something. And also, don't forget, come and find us in the Discord, MrWarrenHayes Discord. The description is I fucked it up again. The link is in the description. All right, just to wrap things up here. Last night we had the return of Velveteen Dream, right? We all saw that coming. Now, bear with me. I'm going to talk about Velveteen Dream, but maybe not how you think. Despite the allegations that came up against him, that he was sending nudes to underage girls, he's back on TV. Apparently, he said that he was working with a third party to work this out. Remember that third party? Well, I always wondered, was this third party the police? Because maybe it should be the police. Anyway, apparently this third party made sure that he kept his job. I don't know. Amidst WWE firing Jack Gallagher, Ligero, Travis Banks over allegations of sexual of abuse and or sexual misconduct, Dream, him though, he's kept his job. And he showed up on TV. Nothing happened, right? Because, the outside world doesn't affect WWE. Of course not. So I'm not here to pass judgment on whether he's guilty or not. That's not what I want to talk about. I think it's weird that he showed up. But my question that I have is where is the oversight that WWE had? During the whole speaking out movement, WWE said that they were taking these allegations seriously, right? That they were probably going to investigate, but we don't know what happened. We don't know what was going on. The attitude that a lot of people have, which is naive, is that WWE put him back on television because he was cleared of all allegations, and that's just a preposterous thing to believe. There is multiple precedents in WWE that exist where they kept their talent on TV despite not only allegations but proof and convictions. There's multiple instances in their history. Jimmy Snuka, Jerry Lawler, Stone Cold Steve Austin. But again, not the point necessarily I want to make here. As a publicly traded company, WWE needs to look into this matter and make statements. Keep the public informed instead of burying its head in the sand. Of course, this kind of situation continues to create then a haven for abusers. Because it's like, you can do really, really shit things. If you're someone we consider we can make money from, we're going to keep you around. If you're Ligero, you're going to hit the bricks. Especially if it's stuff that, despite the fact that it's stuff that happened before under our employment, if you're a name, we'll hang on to you. But here's the thing. Why is this? Why does WWE do this kind of stuff? And when I say do this kind of stuff, I mean keep its head in the sand and sort of plow forward without doing any outreach or statements or the like. And I want to read a bit from a Twitter thread from Trevor Dame, who at Trevor Dame, on Twitter. Give him a follow. He's got some good thoughts about the wacky, wacky world of pro wrestling. And I think this might help us. It popped up. He wrote this last week, and it sort of stuck with me because it makes a lot of sense to me, and I think it ties in. It ties into a lot of stuff. Because professional wrestling has its roots in a con, working matches people thought were real, there's this never-ending, it was better when people thought it was real debate that no other form of entertainment has. No other form of fiction has this. Movies, TV, books, video games. Kids aren't figuring out Harry Potter isn't real and then saying, well, now I can't enjoy this anymore. No, they're saying that after they read J.K. Rowling's tweets, the rim shot, that was a joke. But because for generations, the people who ran and worked wrestling really did believe that if people knew wrestling was fake, they wouldn't watch. They thought of themselves, or at least acted like, more as con men than entertainers. You weren't fans. You were marks to be deceived. And this makes a lot of sense in how WWE conducts itself. Because wrestling has never seen a fan as anything else than someone to scam money out of, right? So if the fans don't drink the promotion's Kool-Aid, if they don't believe the realness of the promotion, well, it's the fans' fault, right? It's like Seth Rollins blaming fans because we don't have long-term storytelling. It's the fans' fault. It's Brandy Rhodes telling people that nobody is going to tell her what to do with AEW heels, right? That she's going to do it her own way. The fans are wrong. They can't be right. They're just our paying customers, but no, they're going to do it. They're going to like it my way. Wrestling has a long, long history of taking its fans as morons and not a discerning clientele who can take their business elsewhere. And people are taking their business elsewhere these days. That's the problem. That's the thing. Are they going to watch sports? NBA? No. No. We're right now, maybe, but we're in a golden age of entertainment access, right? Over the past 10 to 12 years, television alone has stepped up to provide quality programming that is given to us, the consumer, again, a golden age of TV as far as quality and choice. Just think about some of the seminal shows that we've had over the past, like a little more than a decade. 10, 12, 15 years. 6 Feet Under, The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, The Walking Dead, Stranger Things, Orange is the New Black, Umbrella Academy. Well, I added the Umbrella Academy because I really like it, but that can be argued. But my point is that WWE has often said it doesn't compete with the NFL, it competes with Disney because it sees itself as an entertainment company, as a media company, and not as a wrestling promotion. Well, then it has to start to understand. It has to stop acting like a wrestling promotion, and it has to understand why people are leaving to watch other programs than WWE. And I would argue that it's just because there's more compelling programming to be watched elsewhere. Maybe live sports does dent the ratings a bit, because, right? And I think we've seen it just on the ratings this week. Maybe sports does cause some hiccups. Let's put it that way. But people have been leaving wrestling for a long, long time now. And regardless of what sports season it is, people have been going away. Probably for much more compelling TV. Probably for TV that doesn't insult them, doesn't take them for fools, that provides them with logical, continuous storylines and stuff that makes sense. that won't stand them up against the wall, especially that won't stand them up against the wall and execute them if things don't work out. And we seem to accept this form of abuse by WWE and wrestling promotions because we've smartened up and we seem to understand more how the business works. We understand its history, so we're like, oh, well, that's how things are. But no, not anymore. This is one of the things that the wrestling business has to grow out of. It has to grow into a mindset that our time is limited and the options are innumerable. And there is so much quality out there. It's not 1985 anymore when there's just 2 other stations to flip to on a Saturday night. And it's not 1985 and you can't get away with art bar shit either. Talking about WWE here, but I touched on AEW as well, and I think this is a generalized situation. Wrestling organizations need to show that they listen to their fans. They need to show that they are receptive, that they're listening, and that they understand. There is an upheaval regarding Velveteen Dream because there is no closure to this. It's still very open. WWE has to man up and take a side on this, because otherwise this just comes across as scummy and it's business as usual. Business as usual since the territory days, kayfabe, and business as usual and business as usual can't cut it, shouldn't have to cut it after the speaking out movement. Because this kind of stuff, it doesn't track anymore. It just can't fly anymore. So there we go. There we go. We're going to wrap this one up for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all so very much for joining me live. If you did like it and you lasted to the very, very end here, do consider giving the video a thumbs up if you did like it. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing as well. I appreciate it a great, great deal. Join me next week. I'll be back here next Thursday. A lighter schedule, a little lighter schedule for the next couple of weeks, but I'll ease back into it. You'll see. It'll be fantastic. But I'll be back next Thursday. Be sure to check me out on Throwbacks channel on Saturday morning, and head on over to patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes in just a few minutes so we can do the post stream together. So that'll be fantastic. Looking forward to that. Yeah, thank you again so much, everyone, for joining me this evening. There we go. And I'll see you next time.